Hello, I'm Jeff Byers, and this is part 6 of Module 1, building a sci-fi crate. So we are going to go ahead and select everything that we've got so far, and we are going to combine it. So let's go ahead and go into, let's go ahead and delete the history first. Let's delete history, freeze transformations. So delete by type history, and then the freeze transformations. You can see that transformations on everything here. So we're going to go ahead and click on delete by type history and freeze transformation, so we're good there. Now it's all one. We don't need to place those into this group. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and go to the front view. We need to move that pivot point over to the center so we can mirror that over properly. So I'm going to hold the D key down and the V key at the same time and just use the arrow, click on the arrow and move it over, and then let both of those go. Again, you hold the D, and D is the moved pivot point, and V is to snap. So D and V, you can snap it. So the D as in dog, V as in Victor. Alright, so the next thing we're going to do is we are going to mirror this. Go to Mesh, and let's go to Mirror, open up the option box for that. We're going to mirror across the X, Y, or Z, and this will be the X, mirror negative, and let's go ahead and mirror that over. There we go. And did we get that mirrored over right? Yep, looks like it worked out pretty good. So I'm going to double check something here a minute. I'm going to go to vertex mode and marquee select that. And I'm going to go to display, heads up display, and poly count. Again, you can, if I'm going too fast, make sure you pause the video and replay it. And I've got two vertices. Okay, so let me marquee select that again. I'm just making sure that it welded the vertices at the same time. Sometimes the mirror tool doesn't do that properly. So the way to test it is to marquee select a group of, or just one vertex, and if you see more than one up here, you can see that says 1. So it did merge those, so it did really good. So this is our finished crate, our sci-fi crate. I think it turned out pretty good. And what I would do is go to File, Save Scene As, and go ahead and make sure you save in sequence. So you can see all the saves I have so far. Make sure you save every 10-15 minutes so you don't lose too much. You can do that, you just go File, Save Scene As, and you keep saving in a sequence. That way if something happens, your file gets corrupted, which happens a lot, that you'd be able to go back to an earlier save. Okay. With that, I know this was a short demo, actually a short mirror over. That's all I wanted to do. We're going to add more detail to this object when we bring it in to Mudbox. Okay, so we'll get that prepped here. So what we need to do is we don't need to bring this entire thing, we just need to bring the box over. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to separate all our pieces. So here's an icon up here that lets us extract or separate these pieces. So I'm going to select everything. I'm going to go ahead and extract it, and that allows me to get back into these different objects. So you can see that we've got a pretty nice looking box here. It looks really good. Alright, so we've got our crate. I'm going to go ahead and put that in a layer. I'm going double click on that, and we'll just type in create on here. Create. Alright, turn that off, and do I have another one here? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to duplicate this, Control D, add this in here, and I think this is going to be, I'm going to rename that high poly create, and turn that off, and then turn this on, and this will be the low poly create. Okay. Let's capital on that. Here we go. Okay, so if this is a low poly, I'm going to turn that off. I'm going to put all these pieces into its own layer. Alright, so these are going to be props. Call those props. There we go. Alright, so let's go back to the low poly. Alright, so this is not a low poly object, so let's go ahead and create a low poly object with this. So to do that, to create a low poly, we need to get rid of every edge that is straight. So I'm going to double click on every edge. Okay. That does not need to have curvature. So I'm just double clicking on all of these. Okay. And that is a lot. So you can see that makes a huge difference. So those are all the pieces that I can actually get rid of, believe it or not. So let's do a Control Delete. And sure enough, there it is. Now we've got some, we've got all of those done. Now we need to do these. And I can go down as far as this, and that's all the farther I can go. I can't get rid of this one because that supports this edge on the corner. I can't go up in here because that supports that edge up here. So I'm about as far as I can go. So I'm going to go Control D on that, which I'm very happy with. That looks really good. And that's basically our low poly. It's a lower polygon count than we had with the other. So that will work out really nicely. Okay. So let's go in here, and we're just going to go ahead and center pivot, and we're going to delete by type history. And that is our low poly. So our low poly, you can see how fast that was. And then my high poly is this guy right here. That's my high poly. Alright, so low poly and high poly. Okay, let's turn off the low poly a minute and let's work on the high poly. Alright, so I'm going to do another save since I did all that work with the low poly. I'm going to go ahead and delete by type history up here and freeze transformation so clear everything out. And I'm going to go to File, Save Scene As, and go in here to number 8, save that, continue. Alright, so now I'm going to do edge loops. So with edge loops, we're going to start adding edge loops to fine tune, because if I go in here and I hit the 3 key, which is smooth shade preview, it looks like this. And that looks pretty horrible. Okay. So I'm going to click on this, and for it to really, now in ZBrush, in fact I don't use Mudbox at all. I use ZBrush, but I know you guys can't afford to use that. So Mudbox is free, so I'm going to go ahead and do a crash course in Mudbox. And in ZBrush it allows me to do a smooth and keep those 90-degree angles sharp, but I don't think Mudbox will do that, so I've got to add edge loops. So this is going to be a long, treacherous road here, and I'll show you what edge loops are and how they help. You can see how soft that was when I hit the 3 key. Nothing is really sharp anymore. that's a problem. We have to add edge loops to fix that. So edge loops is you have to be in object mode, which is turns the object green. Hold down the shift key and right click and go into edge loop. Now if I add an edge loop here and get pretty close, and an edge loop here, get pretty close, okay, and you can see it goes all the way around. That's good edge loops, okay. So if I click the Q key and go back into object mode and hit the 3 key again, you notice, wow, all of a sudden that edge is nice and tight. In fact, when I click off, you can see that edge, it's turned nice and, the only thing is it's really soft down at the bottom here. Okay, so I'm going to hit the 1 key again. And so I'm going to continue doing that. So you can see how that really tightened that edge up. So I'm going to hold the shift key and right mouse button, go to edge loop, and I'm going to start adding edges all the way around. Okay, look at that. So you can see that works out really nice, and that goes all the way around. Okay, so that worked out for that one. Now I'm going to have to do the same thing for this piece right here. Okay, and then right here, add an edge loop. So that one is pretty much done. Okay, now how do I know? Well, all you have to do is go into the Q key for selection mode, go into the object mode, hit the 3 key, and click off, and you can see, wow. Okay, that works out really, really well. Okay, so I want to do this all around the entire thing because you can see that we've got some issues with this. Okay, and because this is the high poly, I don't really care how many polygons it's going to turn out to be, because if I hit the 3 key, that like doubles the polygons, triples or even quadruples the polygons. But I'm not too worried about that right now because it's high poly anyway. We'll never use this in game, so I'm going to start adding edge loops here everywhere I think this object will need them, even across there. And again, I'm going to do it to the side over here. You can see that I add an edge loop here and even here. Okay, you can see that it's starting to look a lot better. I can go in here, and this is tedious work here, but it's work that needs to be done. Then I need one right here. That looks pretty good. Let's take a look and see. Okay, so you can see those edge loops in here. And wherever you think, if you hit the 3 key, wherever you think you got some soft areas here and you want to tighten those up, you go between 1, which is what we see when we're modeling, and then 3 is the smooth preview. It doesn't mean it's smoothing it for real, it's just giving you a smooth preview. So 1 is what you usually work with. 2 is a smooth shade with a hull, what's called a hull around it, and then 3 is just a smooth shade. Okay. Right, so you can see these nice angles here are caving in on each other. When we don't want that to happen, we want to see those angles. But there's one thing in here that I can see that we need to add. Again, I'm going to hold down the shift key and right mouse button, go into edge loop tool, and just kind of add those edge loops here. We got one on the inside, but we don't, we have one right here and we need one right here. You can see that will help. So I hit the 3 key, that sharpens that up nice. You can see that nice sharp area here now for that piece is looking really, really good. So that's looking good. Hit the 1 key again, and you can see spots that you could probably work on. And you see a spot here that needs to be added. It's it takes some time to get to know which one of these support edge loops you need to add. If you add something doesn't look right, always hit the 3 key right away and see how that looks. So far so good. Alright, I'm going to hit the 1 key again. And we've got the edge loop on this side, edge loop on that side, but we need one that goes across this way, and then this way. And notice I did not go all the way across. That happens sometimes when we have a triangle.